is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. Before I get into this video, please make sure you're subscribed to my Wake Up Call channel. I'm uploading new content over there. Some videos I'm struggling to get up over on this channel, so I have to bounce between channels with my daily content. So please make sure you're subscribed. It's called the Wake Up Call channel. I have it linked below, along with another new channel that I'm working on called Hurting Humanity. I have to constantly build these channels out. Most of you already know this. I don't need to be repetitive about it. But for those of you that are new, I get nuked off of here very, very quickly. So I have to constantly make new channels. A lot of people are looking for my content who can't find my content because not only do I get nuked off, I have to rename my channel every single time. So the only way to keep up is to subscribe to those channels when I tell you to do it. And now is the time to do it if you haven't yet. This is a frightening story. If you haven't heard this yet, most of you should be familiar with the fact that using stem cells, they're able to create human brains from stem cells, right? But I'm sure the intentions are really good. Of course, they want us to think the intentions are good because they don't want us to ask questions as to why these people are doing it, because then you would realize that it's no different than when a serial killer does an experiment on a frog's brain or kills a cat and then decides it wants to dissect the cat. No, that's what they're doing right here. And this is one step closer to the normalization of transhumanism. It's one step closer to actual transhumanism. Living brain cell biocomputers are now training on dopamine. And one of the key things you'll hear in here is how much energy it takes for AI to operate. Well, why don't we just become the AI is really the solution that they're trying to tell you. So current AI training methods burn colossal amounts of energy to learn, but the human brain sips just 20 watts. Swiss startup Final Spark is now selling access to cyborg biocomputers running up to 4 living human brain organized wired into silicone chips. Okay, now I talked about this with Gordy Rose, who continually manually flags most of the videos that he can find that I put up involving what he says in regards to little demons inside of these chips. And now they're talking about human brain organoids being wired into silicon chips. The human brain communicates within itself and with the rest of the body, mainly through electrical signals, sight, sounds, and sensations, are all converted into electrical pulses before our brains can perceive them. This makes brain tissue highly compatible with silicon chips, at least for as long as you can keep it alive. For Final Spark's neuro platform, brain organoids, comprising about 10,000 living neurons, are grown from stem cells. These little balls are kept in incubators at around body temperature, supplied with water and nutrients, and protected from bacterial or viral contamination, and they're wired into an electrical circuit with a series of tiny electrodes. These two-way electrodes can send pulses of electricity into the brain organoids, and they can also measure the responses coming out of them. So what they're talking about here is being able to mix man and machine. They're talking about being able to manipulate the human mind, to be able to send electrical signals to the brain in order to manipulate a human being's mind. This company, the Final Spark, which is the one that I'm speaking about, uses similar organoids wired into arrays, and it also adds a new wrinkle in the ability to flood the organoids with reward hormones like dopamine when they've done a good job. They go on to say, we encapsulate dopamine in a molecular cage invisible to the organoid initially. When we want to reward the organoid, we expose it to specific light frequencies. This light opens the cage, releasing the dopamine and providing the intended stimulus to the organoid. It's an absolutely bizarre frontier of research, and it certainly makes some people uncomfortable. But they point out that humans have long harnessed living things to do work, be it the yeast that brews our beer or the horses that pull through our fields. Are these sentient? Nobody really knows. And for a deep dive into the thorny ethics of this whole wetware computing field could definitely prove useful, both as ultra-efficient cyborg machine learning platforms and also as a remarkable new tool to test the effects of various drugs on the brain's information processing capabilities. Final Spark's neural platform places wetware biocomputing into a cloud accessible format, allowing researchers and commercial users the ability to buy time with the brain chips, along with Python-based software with which to interact with the devices. The company will keep the brain organized alive and healthy as long as possible, and you can give them things to do. It's a very complicated technology, but not so complicated if you're paying attention to what they're saying here. All this stuff, again, this is the type of stuff I talk about. It goes in one ear, out the other. Big words, stuff that you don't know, organoids, etc. They're telling you about hacking humans. The stuff I played for you over and over and over again over the years with Yuval Harari, and them talking about being able to hack into a human's brain. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it presented to you in ways that, well, are very manipulative, right? We see them talking about the brain chip, Elon Musk, Neuralink. What are they telling you about it? They're telling you, well, this technology can help somebody with Parkinson's, it can help somebody who's paralyzed. They're marketing it that way to you, so you accept the technology in our day-to-day life instead of stopping these psychopaths from moving forward with it. People are going to willingly sign up for things like this, but right now what they're doing is they're giving people access to experiment on these so-called stem cell brains that they've grown to be able to send frequencies to the brain, electrical signals to the brain, and then they use wording like this, where they talk about how it's energy efficient, right? Think about how this is going to tie in everything with the climate, the whole thing from the Matrix, right? Where it shows you the battery turning you into this, and he holds up the Duracell battery. That gets forgotten very often, okay? Human beings are large conductors of what? Energy. They're going to turn you into a battery. That's the point. That's where the technology is headed. You're the conductor of energy and getting all of this tech inside of your body. They're going to market it in insane ways that at least sound insane now when we talk about climate change, but in 20 years, when the generations only grow up hearing about this propaganda, that's all that they're going to know. And they're going to think there's nothing wrong with having this technology inside of their bodies. They're not even going to know what it's like to be human, some of them, because it'll probably be put into them at birth. So they say current neural computers guzzle so much energy training large AI models that Elon Musk, among others, has predicted will soon be experiencing energy shortages around data processing centers. If cyborg biocomputers could radically reduce the energy consumption, they could certainly make a contribution. But they're a long way off scaling to the size of a single GPU, let alone the multi-billion-dollar clusters the AI giants are amassing. Now, the other thing I want to tell you, hopefully you're still listening, in regards to this type of technology. Listen to this other story that's out there about organoids. Groundbreaking advance in brain science, creating human blood-brain barrier assembloids, okay? Human blood-brain barrier. Why does that word sound familiar to some of you, the blood-brain barrier? Because remember when they were sticking things up your nose and they were going right up to your blood-brain barrier? That's one of the ways that this is going to be transmissible into human beings' bodies. And it already is in a lot of human beings' bodies. These stories about how they're doing these tests on stem cell brains are out there so that you think no further than them doing tests on stem cell brains. They're doing tests on the massive population. People willingly signed up on their own to be participants in this massive science experiment that's going on right now to see if it takes in people. How much does it take to stay inside of people? Are people's bodies adapting to it? Are people's brain signals being manipulated and changed? And the answer to all that is yes, yes, and yes. So that's the other story that circulates at the same exact time, right? The groundbreaking advance in brain science, which is creating human blood-brain barrier assembloids, while they're telling you at the same exact time that a company's come out with brain cell biocomputers that are now training on dopamine, and they're running 16 human brain organoids for 1 million times less power. So they're starting to condition you into not just understanding, even though a lot of people won't really understand this stuff, but accepting cyborg, accepting human and machine, accepting stimulants and simulations with electrical waves being sent into people's brains and their brain waves where other people can actually access them, right? Think about that terminology in the story, how people were able to access these brains by signing up and paying a fee, and they can play around and experiment with this, right? I mean, this is utter insanity. These are what you call crimes against humanity, but in today's world, this is called science. And you're told not to question the science, and you're also told, if you do question the science, that you don't understand the science. Energy, right? Think about that. Remember that word, energy, how they're manipulating people with these stories, using climate, how we're not gonna be able to process and have the power to run artificial intelligence because you're gonna become one with machine. You're gonna be the AI. You're the matrix. Remember, you're the battery in the matrix, turning you into this, a Duracell. I thank everybody for being here. Again, if you didn't subscribe to my other channel, the Wake Up Call channel, please make sure you do so now. The link is below. New content up over there about the bird flu and other important things that you need to know about. I thank everybody again for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.